Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient. Been battling cancer since 2021, doing really well, and I'm really excited about our guest today. And, I haven't had any tests lately. I'm actually going to be seeing my oncologist in a couple of weeks. So I'll give an update then as to any progress or whatever the case may be. And at this time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce my guest, Mike Starks, and he's from Dallas, right?
That's right. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic.
Great.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike.
Oh gosh, I am 60 years old. Been with my wife, be 25 years next year. And I have three daughters, uh, awesome girls. Our youngest is 16, 18, and 21. Um, I live in Highland Village, Texas, which is just it's part of Dallas. It's just north of Dallas. Um, and grew up here and was diagnosed in December with cancer, and then in January with stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer.
Okay, well, we're gonna have a great conversation on how we
Okay.
we came to meet and how we're gonna be moving forward and some of the things that you're doing. And this is what I really like about this is you're in the middle of this journey. You're in the thick of the thing of
Yeah.
things. And so it's great to hear your expectations and the way you're looking things, how you're navigating things. So let's start. How did you find out that you had cancer? How did it all start?
So last May, I had double fusion on my back, and my hip started hurting me just before that. And it was just like an achy, strained muscle. And by September or October, it was so bad I was walking with a cane. And one day I was walking downstairs and I put all my weight on my leg and fell down, and I couldn't even sit up. So I knew the pain was so bad. I knew something was wrong. So my wife was out of town. I went to the emergency room via ambulance, and the doctor came out and said, "Well, I've got bad news and worse news. The bad news is you've got a cracked hip and a cracked femur, and that's why you're in so much pain." And he said, and the worst news is you've got a tumor. He called it a tumor. And he's an ER doctor. So I said, okay, what do you mean a tumor? He said, well, there's a mass and it's too early. So I had to get a new hip, was in the hospital for about 15 days. And when I came out, we knew it was prostate cancer, but we didn't know it was metastatic. So when I got out, started doing all my scans, um, and met with my oncologist, my radiologist. He's the one who, very honest guy, but he just said it's bad. It's stage 4. It's in your bones, and it's kind of all over. And it was. I was at the doctor's office by myself, and I got in my car, and first time in my life, I felt like I was really facing death. So that was in January. And so that's basically my diagnosis. And from there, it was just I kind of started the process of, figuring everything out.
So when you got that news that you had cancer, how did that hit you? How did that affect you? And what were your initial thoughts?
Oh, very in denial. The first hour, I got in my car, and I stared at the dash for about an hour, going, this can't be real. I can't have cancer. I'm a healthy person. And so very sad. And I thought, well, do I tell my family or do I not freak them out? And I thought, no, I need to be very transparent. And so I did, um, and a lot of tears. Um, and, you know, my doctor basically said, they could probably get, he felt for sure they could give me 5 more years. But if I followed, did everything they told me to, that I could likely get 10 years. Um, and so again, not knowing, I knew nothing about cancer, Mark. And I think that's the thing that I try to tell people when they're diagnosed now, is that it's a very confusing, very surreal moment where you realize that you've got to take it seriously. And so that, that feeling of, as I told you earlier, I can cry, or I can die, or I can try. And so the feeling at first was just confusing, depressed, sad. And then I finally realized, you know what, whether I have 2 months, 2 years, or 20 years, I need to make the most of it. And yeah, so it's definitely it's definitely a wake up call.
Absolutely. On February 4th, 2015, the Medical News Today said that 1 in 2 people will develop cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 2 women, 1 in 3 men.
Yeah.
That is astounding. We as a society, we uh, whatever profession we choose, whether that be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, we go to school, we study years and years and years to get a degree, to pass the test, to become whatever it is that we want to become, right?
Right.
And yet, with cancer, when 99.9% of the people get cancer, they don't know anything about cancer, and thus this translates into a tremendous amount of fear
Yeah.
because you don't know. It's not something that it's always been kind of a taboo subject
Right.
throughout the world. It's what's the first thing most people think when they say, "Oh, you have cancer"? What's the first thought that they have?
That other people have, or that I have?
That other people have?
Oh, that I'm well, when I tell people I have stage 4 cancer, they think I'll be dead within 12 months.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And yeah, yeah. And I, thought, okay, I'll be bald the rest of my life with no eyebrows, and I'll be weak and fragile. And but yeah, most people, including me, Mark, before I had cancer, when someone would say cancer, I'd go, gosh, I'm so sorry. And then I'd forget about it and go, gosh, that poor person. But now that I have it, I'm like, wow, and I will say this, that my wife, who is as witty as they come, in the hospital, I started playing the cancer card saying, hey, I'm a cancer survivor. And she would look at me and say, not yet, jokingly. And what we've learned, even with our daughters, is to laugh about it, and not in the sense of that to make fun of people with cancer, but me, their dad, and the husband, is that we can't sit around and cry, and we tried that, it doesn't work. So we realize, you know what, we got to laugh about it. And if God gives me two weeks or 2 years or 22 years, to be grateful. And so but it is such a learning process, because no one really has a clue, or I say a clue. There's a lot of confusion out there about cancer.
Yes, there is, and the crazy thing about it is when you get diagnosed with cancer, all of a sudden there's like you're in like this vacuum,
Yeah.
and your family and your friends and everybody has an idea of what you should do. Everybody has an opinion, everybody has a cure, and so that adds to the lack of knowledge surrounding a cancer diagnosis, because you're going in blind, not knowing about cancer. And yet you're expected to be able to make these life changing and life altering decisions based on no knowledge. That is a frightening thing. Absolutely frightening. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. As I've told you, we have been in the weight loss business for 15 years, and one of the things that I always assumed was that people who are overweight were lazy, and that's not true. Uh, they're they're confused, and what we discovered was that, especially with females, because 85% of our clientele were females. But by the time a female's 35 or 40, they've tried 100 diets, they're frustrated, they give up. And so it's not that they're lazy or not motivated, they just don't want to try anymore because they feel like they've been cursed with being overweight. And so I think with cancer, a lot of people approach it the same way, in that they think that, okay, the only option is what my doctors tell me to do, and what I believe, because of my experience with weight loss, is I think there are a lot of great doctors out there that are bariatric or that are oncologists. But I also think that some are misguiding some patients, or too have too much tunnel vision and don't want to believe there's, other alternatives.
Yes, absolutely correct. Because conventional medicine, they're mandated by the government to
Yep.
stick to their protocols and
Yep.
stick to their pharmaceuticals, and it's against the law for them to prescribe natural solutions.
Yep.
And so thus they don't even look at it as an option because they can't make money on it.
Yeah.
In not in all cases, but in majority of cases. And
Yeah.
so that puts them, you know, that puts you as a patient behind the eight ball because you're only getting one side of the story.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult, very, very difficult thing. So now, you go to your doctor, your oncologist, and they give you a diagnosis. You have 6 months to live, 12 months to live, 5 years, whatever it may be, and you're expected to make life altering decisions based on just what your doctor says.
Yeah.
Is that scary or dangerous or just it's beyond my comprehension? And
Yeah.
yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right, Mark. I think I think the perception among most people when they get cancer is that their quality of life's going to be horrible, that they're just kind of waiting to die, right? And so all they know to do is to trust their doctor. And look, I trust my doctors. Both of my doctors I respect, and they're very good guys. Uh, but they even encourage me to figure out what works for you. If that means, eating 7 lemons a day and reishi mushrooms or whatever, or fasting or whatever, you've got to figure out what works for you. And about 35 years ago, I lived in Colorado, and I had two friends who got cancer, and they swore that they cured it with the microbiotic diet. And they were ultra disciplined with anything they ate. They did not use a microwave. But you know what? I thought, if I ever get cancer, I'm going to do the microbiotic diet, because both of them were just phenomenal athletes, ran marathons. And so as I've gotten older, now that I'm 60 and I have cancer, uh, listening to people like you and some other folks who have stage 4, and how they've not beat it, but they've controlled it. And we know we'll never be cured, but that doesn't mean we're not going to live to be 90, right? But it's just getting the cancer under control and feeling better. And so you're right, doctors, by law and sometimes by ego, but usually by law, have to follow a certain path, and I respect that. Uh, but you told me about your doctor, which is another. If you want to talk about that, we can. But fortunately, my doctors were very open to say, Mike, try whatever works. And now that my PSA numbers are down really low, they're like, keep doing what you're doing. You know. So I think it's just really figuring out, trying to get good doctors, that are open minded.
Let's talk about, I'd like you to talk about how we met and connected.
Okay. Yeah. One night, I was diagnosed in January, and I started watching YouTube. I tell my doctors I have an MD from YouTube, and, which means I'm 0.001% as smart as they are, right? But I watched probably in 60 days, probably 200 to 250 videos. Some of them were long, some of them were short. Um, and at our age, I think we can discern fairly well who is on track to what we believe, or and so I came across your video, and it was, I can't remember, it wasn't on your YouTube channel. You were doing an interview with I
The
can't
patient
remember.
story.
Yeah, patient story, yeah. And I mean, I was sitting on the couch, my wife was watching TV, and I had my headphones in, and I thought, okay, I'll listen to this guy. And I start listening, and I thought, okay, this guy's very calm. He's not panicked. Uh, all the things that he's saying, he's a very trustworthy guy, somebody that you trust, you believe. And you had stage 4. You're about my age, and just some of the things that you did, Mark, when I heard it on the video, I thought, okay, I'm going to try a few of those things, but I want to reach out to this guy to see exactly what he's eating, what his routine is. And yeah, and so I went on LinkedIn or somehow reached out to you, and you responded within a couple of hours, which I was shocked. And so I was like, okay, someone's responding to me. I've got a friend who's going to help me. And that night or the next morning, you sent me over your diet and all your information. And that day, I went to the store and bought all my stuff, except the reishi mushrooms and all that I had to order out of Oregon, but everything else I could get locally. And yeah, so started doing the stuff that you were doing, and joined your forum, even though I've been absent I've been selling my business and a home remodel. It's kind of been a crazy deal. But yeah, so
Well,
that's how.
let me pause you right there.
Yeah.
So what Mike is talking about is he joined our Thursday get together on Clubhouse called Cancer Conquering Community, and yeah, let talk a little bit about that as well. What you thought about it, and
As I told you, I'm not surprised there should be like thousands of people on this thing. And there's only, a half dozen to a dozen. And it just, to me, to hear other cancer survivors, their journey, what they've overcome, and the things they've read, the things they eat, the things they do, the positivity, uh, that it's almost like, an aggregate of all these small little things that I've kind of picked out. And that's one of them, is talking to folks like Boyd, who is hilarious. That's a gentleman that's on the in the clubhouse. Uh, but to talk to people and get everyone's perspective, um, is so helpful, and people that you can trust. Because I will say, every time I go over to the oncologist, Um, there are people in the waiting room and they don't want to talk to me, you know. They they don't. And it's not that they're being rude, but they just, everyone seems almost down and depressed, you
Mhm.
know. But I feel like your group, everyone's kind of just positive and is there to, high five each other and to give advice or help others understand what they're going through and how to cope with it. So,
Yes, and by the way, we all kind of like it that it's small because we could really get to know everybody, and it's a family for us, and so um, yeah, so that part we do really enjoy is the ability to openly share and say whatever we want, and it's a new experience every single week. So
yeah.
moving on from there, so you got some of the things that I suggested to you, and what happened from there.
So I started before I'd met you, Mark. I went and bought a ton of different vitamins and supplements, and most of them you have in your routine, and or some of the things that you do with the ECCG, the green tea vitamins, turmeric. I do about 30 pills a day. That includes my cancer medicine, my hormonal stuff. Um, but um, but yeah, so I'm sorry, was the question what's my routine and what have the results been?
Yes.
Oh,
So once you got all these things,
yeah.
what have you noticed? Any difference or what?
Boy, what a learning process. I will say this, it's very humbling. I've told my wife for years that the organic world is a bunch of uh, crooks and greedy, et cetera, and organic doesn't make that big of a difference or processed meats. Um, and boy, was I wrong. So after listening to a couple of folks online talking to you, now I only eat organic. I only eat wild caught fish. I only eat grass finished beef. If I'm at a restaurant and they don't have it, then I will get a regular steak, but that's rare. Um, but I bought a juicer and do almost everything that you put in your shots and your stuff. I'm making a big juicer thing that I have two of those a day. Okay. And so because of my hip is still gives me problems. It's been 6 months now, and they told me, most days I can walk just fine, but I will say this, if I eat the wrong thing, Mark, or if I eat, sugar or gluten, uh, rarely have any alcohol. I can have a beer, 1 beer or 2 beers, and I'm okay. I'm not a big drinker, but I can't drink wine. If I drink wine, it just kills me. Um, but my thing was every time I would eat something, all my hot spots, uh, I that's what I call my metastasis in my ribs and spine and shoulders and all that. And I asked my doctor, is that how cancer works? And he said, well, what happens is you have inflammation where the cancer is trying to grow. And if you do have a lot of sugar, cancer feeds off sugar and you're going to feel it. And so, what I've tried to do with your diet and with some of the other things I'm doing is I try to eat in a way to where I don't have any pain. Because about one day, I would say one day out of 7 to 10 can be pretty crummy. And I don't know why. But as my nuclear medicine doctor says, is hey, when you're killing cancer, because I'm on immunotherapy in my infusions, when you're killing cancer, you make it mad and it's going to hurt you. So you're going to have some bad days. So that for me, from what you've taught me and shared with me, makes me feel 99% better that I just I have more energy. Uh, now for some reason I'm sleepy throughout the day because of my medicine that I'm on, and my doctor told me that, but he prescribed something for that. But what the stuff that you've taught me, Mark, and the items on your list, just when I wake up in the morning, I have energy, I feel good. And that's when you have cancer, you just want to feel good, right? Not high good. You just want to feel normal, right? With no pain.
Yes.
And so that's why I'm really excited about my hip getting fully recovered so that I can exercise more. Because right now I can only walk about 10 to 15 minutes a day and it starts stiffening up on me. But but yeah, it's just about quality of life. And that's kind of what your routine has really helped me with.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. Um,
Yeah.
the approach that, in referring to, you're being able to exercise more, but you reach a plateau. Um, I look back in my journey, and I set my goal every day as I wanted to be better than yesterday with everything that I did.
Yeah.
And so I set out, and especially initially, a lot of that stuff really hurt. But I knew the hurt was going to lead was my path to getting better.
Yeah.
Uh, because as I've been an athlete all my life, and I've heard about rehab and pushing through the pain, and so that was the approach that I took, was embracing that pain, but taking that and breaking through it a little bit every day. And when I was really really sick, uh, I could barely walk across the room. It
Mm.
took me literally, it took me 10 minutes to walk across the room. It took me a half an hour to take a shower because at that time I could not reach my toes. I couldn't touch my toes. And to try to navigate life when you can't touch your toes is a lot more difficult than
Yeah.
and,
Right.
and that it's something we take for granted.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and so to, you know, navigate through that, and now I'm always blown away because now I could, I easily touch my feet, and my feet still get dry, put lotion on them, and things like that. Whereas at the beginning, somebody had to do that for me
Yeah.
because I couldn't touch the bottom of my feet, and so I couldn't reach them in order to put lotion on them to keep them, moist, and things like that. So, but pushing through every single day and having that mindset, and now for all of 2021, I was not able to drive, and now
Wow.
I drive every day, and I never want to go back. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in going. I'm so I'm so blessed to be where I am today that I do not want to, have to go through all that testing and all the things that you have to do again, because once, as far as I'm concerned, is more than plenty,
Yeah.
enough for a lifetime. So,
Oh, yeah. Right.
so with that being said, that's why I intend to stick with my diet for the rest of my life, even though it's a lot of work. It's a habit now, so I don't mind it, and it's something that I know is going to be beneficial to me all the way down the road.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what?
On that, Mark, if you don't mind, I would like
No,
to
go ahead.
say that uh, when I had my hip replacement and I was in the hospital for 15 days laying down, and I was on Dilaudid, a 4-hour cycle, like it's 2 or 4 milligrams every 4 hours, and I was on 14 Oxycontin a day.
Ooh,
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, and my wife videotaped me hallucinating and trying to grab butterflies and all that. I mean, it was, and what I discovered in the hospital was I had not set up for 10 or 11 days. And when the nurse asked me to set up, she said, "Well, I'm going to help you." And I said, "I don't need help. I, my body and muscles did not know how to respond or to react or to, and and like you, I had to use a walker for a few weeks when I got home, and I had to learn how to walk again. And it was just, I am so grateful or thankful now that I can put my socks on without having to use the sock thing, with the handles. And I can walk. I can do certain things, and I am so grateful just being able to walk outside now, just to
Oh
walk
yes.
around.
Oh
You know?
yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Uh, I've always talked about the very first time when I walked outside my front door after being in my room for 3 straight months.
Gosh.
It what an unbelievable difference that first time was to open that door and to just breathe and to see the
Yeah.
sky and to see the trees and to look around at things that I took for granted. And now
Yes.
it was like my eyes were big and it was like, wow,
Yes.
this is really something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I took my wife for granted. I took, friends for granted. I took the little things for granted, and, um, it's definitely when you face death like we have, it makes you think. It makes you go to another place you've never been before. That's for sure, but you definitely, and I try to thank God every day for just the little things that,
Yes.
just to be able to breathe normal, to, because I've seen some people with brain cancer that probably don't have 12 months to live, you know? So I always think, oh, it could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse, you know? So always be grateful.
Oh, absolutely. I one of the things that has been such a great sense of joy with my YouTube channel is having the opportunity to meet so many people throughout the world. Uh, I have met some unbelievable people, and when people get cancer, all of a sudden, it's all you know, woe is me, and why did
Yeah.
this happen to me, and no, why does nobody else have it, and why just and it's all like this pity party. And with this YouTube channel, I've had the incredible opportunity to meet, for instance, a gentleman named Terry Tucker. And Terry, his cancer was so bad they first had to amputate his left foot. Uh, I believe it was the left foot right at the ankle, and then shortly thereafter they amputated his whole right leg from above the knee down.
Wow.
And yes, so in meeting so many different people, you realize that, you know, you don't have it the worst,
Yeah.
It's the worst to you, but it's not the worst that's out there.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine, Dr. Gary Phillips, he's been to the ER 83 separate times with life threatening situations.
83.
83. And he's got a rare autoimmune disease that and as a result, his platelet count. Did you meet him? He might have been there on our clubhouse. He's one of our moderators. I don't know if
Uh, I
uh,
I don't
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
I don't think so, but you will, because he's just been dealing with some construction issues at his house. Um, and then I also met people like Christine Handy, Victoria's Secret model, who's had I don't know how many surgeries. I think it was like 7 or 8 different surgeries, and her moniker is the breastless Victoria's Secret model. And
Wow.
because she's been through cancer, I mean, she is fierce. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Christine. She's amazing and just has such an incredible attitude and is fearless. And so when you meet these kind of people, I've met people from all over the world. One young lady from England had 8 brain surgeries, and you hear these stories that are just unbelievable,
Mm,
absolutely unbelievable. So, and that's the beauty of this community, is this community is willing to embrace people openly. And,
yeah.
you find the right group, and, I'm fortunately part of several of them. And it's just amazing, absolutely amazing, the spirit and the camaraderie and the positive attitudes out there, and the just the fighting spirit of everybody who have gone through something that's changed their life, and they've come out the backside, and are willing to keep fighting and moving forward, and helping others in the same
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what is your uh, final thought that you'd like to leave our audience here with?
I would say this, Mark. If you are diagnosed with cancer, there are a lot of alternative options other than, I mean, added to chemotherapy, radiation, whatever your doctor recommends. But I would really encourage people to, if you've got, I don't know if you have your diet online where they can download it, but to download Mark's diet or his routine and do some research online, um, and don't take no for an answer. You know, uh, that quality of life.
I actually did a diet video, so there is now a diet video online as
Perfect,
well. So
perfect,
it's
perfect.
right there.
And I will say, it's been such an interesting journey. I bought a juicer, and I've never been a juicer person. I thought juicers are for goofballs, right? Well, I'm a goofball now. And and I bought the Nama J2 or whatever, because there's 1,000 different juicers out there. But this, let me tell you what, it's about $600, but it's worth every penny because it's easy, it's fast, um, and the juicing has helped. But I would just encourage people that if you just make a few changes, just a few changes in your life, um, it improves the quality of your life. Hopefully, it'll increase the longevity, uh, but you definitely will feel better, and you'll meet a lot of great people in that journey. And I think that's part. The camaraderie is an important part of this, Mark, because my wife and kids, they kind of know about cancer and stuff, but it's when I talk to you or Boyd or some other folks that are around me that have cancer that really encourage me and help me know that it's going to be okay. And I think in the first few months when you're diagnosed, that's very important, is to know that you're not alone. And thousands, millions of people have been down this road. And I do think, I will say this, I'll close with this. My doctor, my young nuclear medicine doctor, who I really like, he said, if you would have had this 20 years ago, stage 4 metastatic, you probably would have 2 to 3 years to live. But he said, but, you know, over the years, they've really figured out kind of a good plan of attack and a prognosis or an action plan how to address and fix things. But he also said with YouTube and the internet, now you have a lot of people who have come up with some very creative ways to complement the medicine, the chemo, the things that we're doing. And so I would just encourage people, join the clubhouse that Mark leads, find other folks that have cancer, that you can relate to, um, and know it's going to be okay.
That is fantastic, fantastic advice, Mike, and so well articulated. Thank you so much for joining me. I've had a blast, and I hope you have too,
I have.
sharing your story, uh,
Yes.
because it's worth talking about. And what I want to do is I want to bring you back down the road once you get a little further on in your journey, to see where
Okay.
you're at, and touch base and learn some more about what's happened, because things are always changing, things are always evolving, and all of a sudden you may find something that, hey, I like this too, and you add it to your protocol,
Yeah.
and so that's what it's all about. It's all about learning and getting better and connecting with people, and you know helping make this world a better place as well
Yeah.
while we're doing it.
That's right.
So thank you so much, Mike. And what I like to do is to share a couple of motivational quotes, and this is from Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. And the first one is, believe it is possible to solve your problems. Tremendous things happen to the believer. So believe the answer will come, and it will. And the second one is, the greatest power available to a human being is in depth faith, the force by which you can move mountains of difficulty. So, thank you so much for joining us here today at To Be Your Own Hero. Make the most out of every single day. Every single day is precious. We cannot replace time, and that's why time is our most precious commodity. Make the most of every single hour, every single minute, and every single breath that you take. And with that, have a great weekend and week, and we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero. Take care and thank you. And subscribe to the channel, please. Thank you.